Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Another crazy day. And we have the craziness for you right here. Welcome back, everybody, to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family. A CEO of a crypto company kidnapped. Crazy monkeys escaped from a lab and are on a rampage. Joe Biden addresses the nation following Donald Trump's massive electoral win. A Canadian journalist denies being a Russian mouthpiece, and other stuff. We have it all coming right up, right here on the Maverick News Channel. So do not touch that dial. Do not go away. There's more right after this.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are two iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Oh yes, we do have a lot to share with you tonight. Also, General Michael Flynn has revealed his enemies list. See the eyebrows? Yeah, that means it's shocking. Joe Biden urging the country tonight to accept the results of the presidential election. Let's go to the president's address, shall we? And see what he's doing to keep things calm, even as some people want, I think, to stir things up. Here's Joe Biden.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning.
Yeah, from this morning.
Thank you, please. Thank you. Good to see this cabinet and the staff together here. Thank you.
Trump made his first appointment to his new administration today as well. We'll tell you about that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, and immigration.
Yeah.
RCMP.
It's good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty, because it takes time to get it done. And so much more. It's going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, so there's Joe Biden. And preparations are already underway to transition to a Trump administration. And while all that is going on, special counsel prosecutors, it appears, are going to shut down their criminal cases against Donald Trump before he takes office. There are sources within the various justice departments saying that that's going to be the case because Special Counsel Jack Smith is planning to wind everything down because he could not finish his court cases against Trump even before inauguration. But even Bill Barr, I think, has come out to say that the cases under these circumstances should be dropped against Donald Trump. So, yeah, a lot of things are about to change in a pretty serious way. J.D. Vance setting the stage as well for what appears to be a kind of a bloodletting, I would say. Here he is on the Tucker Carlson show saying that Trump is getting ready to do what he does best, at least what he did best in reality television, and now he's prepared to do it in real life as president, fire people.
Trump's main campaign platforms, one of the main things that he talks about, and of course, I think he learned in some ways the hard way during his first 4 years in office, is the president recognizes that if you have people in your government who you tell to do something and they disobey you, that's not like checks and balances. They're part of your government. The check and balance is the House, the Senate, the judiciary, exactly. Right? If the people in your own government aren't obeying you, you have got to get rid of them and replace them with people who are responsive to what the president is trying to do. If you don't have that, you don't have a real democratic accountability.
You've got to be a nut cutter because that's the system at stake.
That's right.
That's democratic control. How do voters have any control over their government if the people they elect have no control?
That's exactly right, man. And again, it's we have to sort of remind ourselves that it's real people who suffer because of this, right? There are Americans who are dead because the Joint Chiefs of Staff didn't listen to the President of the United States when he said you need to do troop redeployments out of Syria. There are veterans who are dead because the VA does not function as well as it could because the president needs to be able to fire, again, the small number of people who aren't doing their job. And that same story repeats itself, rinse and repeat through the entire American government. You have got to have basic democratic accountability. And I think, most Americans recognize, look, we're fine with, bureaucrats making a reasonable salary. We're fine with people having a good life, but they've got to do their job, right? When you're in public service, you've got to do your job. And whether you're an elected official or an unelected bureaucrat, if you're not doing your job, you got to get out there and make way for somebody who will.
Okay, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Of course, what happened the first time around with Trump is that he surrounded himself with people who weren't really on board with his agenda. And they had knives out and they were sticking them in his back. So we'll see what happens this time around. He also, if you may recall, he had this guy here who's pretty popular with a lot of people, General Michael Flynn, who served as National Security Advisor for only, I think it was 24 days. And then he was ousted because he lied about some involvement with Russia and lied to Vice President Pence at the time, and so ended up being fired. Now, I think Trump, in the end, had a lot of sympathy for General Flynn, and it looks like, after going through a lot of lawfare and coming back from that, It looks like he's of course back in the Trump sphere of influence. Not sure if he will end up in the administration or not, but he has been appearing regularly on some conservative media platforms, especially the Alex Jones program, where he has now revealed his enemies list, which I find very, very interesting. I hadn't seen this before, and I don't know if anyone has ever actually seen this before, but he has, I mean, he's so focused on his enemies list that he actually has a whole chart made up. He has a list. That which makes me feel honestly uncomfortable when I start hearing about government officials or even people in the sphere of influence within the Oval Office who have enemies lists. But it just reminds me a lot of McCarthyism. Maybe so, maybe not. But here's General Flynn talking about his enemies list. He's going to show it to you. He's going to hold it up here.
2, 3, 4-year-old children, babies, right up to teenagers, but babies that are out there being sex slaved. This is sickening. And so this has got to be like sort of a first priority within this campaign, because that's part of what we as Americans should do. If we want to say we maintain the moral high ground, we should immediately go after this. A component of all this is, of course, to go after these criminals that we know came in with the illegal invasion, the terrorists that we know that came in that are on the books right now of the FBI and the CIA and all these other agencies, and clearly under DHS. These people know this. And we have people inside the government right now, some of whom are whistleblowers who are ready to go to work for us. And there's others that I know that are in the government that have been crushed when they have risen their heads to talk about this kind of stuff.
As you said, go after the serious criminal gangs so the public sees it's the right thing to do and that Trump's protecting them. It legitimizes everything else he's doing. That's the right thing to do. Go after the criminal gangs, go after the terrorists, and that's the war right there that's real and unifying and right. People totally get behind him. Then the human trafficking at the same time, which goes right to the Democrats and the NGOs, and then that is the domino that's the right thing to do as well, that brings them all down.
And I think people need to understand that the NGOs, there's a lot of churches, a lot of faith-based organizations that are involved in this kind of stuff. So this has got to be one of these, I don't use the word ruthless, but there's got to be a ruthlessness to the campaign that this undertakes, because some of
I have to stop there for a moment and just process what he's saying. So he's saying that he wants to go after churches, faith-based organizations, and I've listened to him talking about NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations. But that's a very broad collectivization of targeting NGOs because of human trafficking. And then, so he's going to go after churches and NGOs, which they're sort of demonizing, and they say that's the Democrats. So they're going to go after Democrats, they're going to go after churches, even though I've heard him also talking about the need to recognize America as a Christian country. I don't know what this means, honestly. And now he's got this enemies list. So let's listen to this.
Some of these NGOs are directly involved, and we know exactly who they are. Some of these are faith-based organizations that hide behind that, and we know exactly who they are. And
so he's saying that NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and there are lots of ways to describe that or characterize those. And he's saying churches hide behind them, and you're going to go after the churches through the NGOs. Okay, and I honestly hadn't ever heard General Flynn speaking about this in this depth before, but that's me. So this is somewhat new, but it seems like maybe they're just giving more detailed analysis or explanation compared to what they normally would. I just don't. Let's listen some more.
And I will tell you, I keep a list right here. I'll show you this right here. Okay, this.
So there's his enemies list. So who is on his enemies list? It's hard to honestly read it because it's video and it's not completely full HD, so I'm having some difficulty. The American Civil Liberties Union, I can see that, the ACLU. These other ones, there's a lot on here. There's a lot on this list. And in the center, it says...
This is
I can't quite make it out.
This is my enemy terrain.
His enemy terrain, that's his list of enemies.
Okay, this is my...
What does that say? Who's on his enemies list? MSNBC, CBS Television. A lot of these, it's just too blurry. I can't make them all out. A lot of logos. So these are companies. There's something called BJC, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't recognize a lot of these. And some of them I do. So he's going after mainstream media as an enemy on his enemies list. Journalists. Very interesting. I don't know. So this is... Wow. Okay, let's just listen to a little bit more.
This is my enemy terrain, and many of them that are part of that. And this is something that I have been focused on for a long, long time. You know, you have a lot of different NGOs, and you know the Arabella Advisors, right? Arabella Advisors. I'm showing this on your show here because there is a scheme to the enemy terrain and to the enemy disposition on a battlefield. This is the disposition of our foes, right? And a lot of these, their ultimate goal is what I describe as global power and a weak America. Well, we just won a major victory last night, and that victory has to be sealed by us continuing to fight, like I say, through this objective. And on this map are a series of non-governmental organizations, a number of faith-based organizations that are directly involved in the illegal invasion that this country has been experiencing, even going back to Obama, but clearly during the last 3.5 years under the Biden-Harris administration. And I'm telling you, these exist. We know where they are. We know exactly how they operate. And we need to go after every single one of these and dismantle this formation. We have to dismantle a lot of this. Talking about.
Wow. Okay. So, what are we talking about here? This is like they're going to hunt these people and these organizations down? They're going to go after churches? All right. And we're also talking here about a massive deportation plan that it looks like it would involve upwards of 18 million people. That's what I'm hearing today. And Trump has come out, and what was it he said within the last 24 hours? Something about there's no dollar figure that he would even attach to it. It's just like it's just going to be done. So that, of course, is one of his main, what has been his, one of his main campaign platforms. And in Canada, there's a lot of concern about that because if Trump starts to deport people, and even now people are so worried about it that it looks like some people in the U.S. who might end up being targeted as part of that deportation program, it looks like they're already looking north to Canada. So the RCMP is on high alert now, concerned that Canada may be flooded with immigrants coming in from the U.S. as a result of Donald Trump's plan to deport people. RCMP, here's a headline. CTV News reporting this, and not the only media outlet picking up on this. RCMP already on high alert, it says here, for potential wave of migrants after Trump election. It says when Donald Trump vowed to clamp down on immigration as part of his campaign for president of the United States, the RCMP was listening closely. Canada's federal police force has been preparing for months on a contingency plan for a potential massive influx of migrants across the border following Trump's promise of mass deportations of millions of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. It goes on and says, now that the former president has been elected for another term, the RCMP has been on high alert. If a surge materializes, the Mountie is expected to take place before Trump's inauguration in January. And questions remain on how many people would cross into Canada and whether Canadian authorities have the resources to handle them. We started planning, it says here, quote, we started planning because we knew that there were a lot of people in the United States who will fear to be deported, and if that happens, they won't wait for the Trump administration to seize power. It's more likely they will attempt to cross into Canada from now in the next few weeks until he takes on power. That from RCMP spokesperson Sergeant Charles Poirier. I'm such an Anglophone. Obviously, pretty serious concerns that could, my goodness. I mean, Canada only when I say only, bringing in about 1 million new people a year right now. The federal government's immigration cap is has been around 500,000. But hang on just a moment. I need to take a break here and find out what's going on with this call. Just one moment, I will be right back. Here we go.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, I need another moment here, folks. Just bear with me.
Well, she's sitting in the driveway all dressed in black. Got that slick paint, you know she got the knack. Chrome glimmers in the moonlight, like a star on the rise. When I slide behind the wheel, I feel alive. Oh, I can't deny, got the little black vest, she's my midnight ride. Rolling down the highway with my girl by my side. Fast as a whisper, smooth as a dream. In my little black van, we're a rock and roll team. Leather seats and a rumble that shakes the ground. With the top down low, we're lost in the sound. That engine growls like a lion's roar. Every mile we take, I just want more. Got the little black face, she's my midnight ride. Rolling down the highway with my girl by my side. Fast as a whisper, smooth as a dream. In my little black van, we're can't beat me. With the guitar waiting under the stars so bright, in my little black bed, everything feels right.
Okay. Thanks for your patience there, folks. Just some information coming in that I had to wrap my head around and assess, so we'll just continue. I don't even remember where I was at now. I'm just all twisted around, and my head's in 3 other places now. So I need another moment. Hang on just a minute.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Oh yeah, I was talking about immigration. Let me get back to that, shall I? So yeah, like I was saying, the RCMP is on high alert because with Trump planning to deport up to 18 million people, it looks like Canada could be flooded with immigrants. And if that happens, of course, that's a lot of people. Now, would 18 million people end up in Canada? I don't know. Probably not. Will Trump actually deport 18 million people? I doubt it. Highly unlikely. That's a lot of people. I don't know what this is supposed to look like. But obviously, this could be a serious problem for Canada. We've only been able to absorb 500,000 to 1 million. It was supposed to be 500,000 under Trudeau, and in some years, because of the wars and other things going on, we've approached 1 million per year. In a country of only about 40 million, which has ballooned from about 30 million just, about a decade ago to 40 million. So the population is actually growing pretty quickly, too quickly, and we can't absorb it all. The infrastructure can't handle it. We don't have enough housing. Our healthcare system is under extreme strain, and there hasn't been enough time to take the new arrivals and turn them into productive citizens. So it has become a drain on the system. Now that could be a short-term thing until people become, trained and acclimatized to living in Canada so that they can secure employment and become productive members of society, which is always the ultimate goal, and we can always get there, but it takes time. And if you're flooded with a bunch of people coming in over the border in a country of only 40 million, okay, you half the population of Canada is squeezed into the city of New York. We're not a big country in terms of population. So if we have to absorb massive numbers of people, that's a serious freaking problem. So if you have a lot of migrants, a lot of people heading into Canada because Trump is threatening to deport people and they want to get ahead of that because they're concerned about possible legal ramifications or incarceration or whatever they think might be coming, and I don't even know. I just don't know. But this is all very destabilizing, and this is only, the second day after Trump's election to the White House? So things have suddenly changed very, very much. This is going to have a major impact on Canada. And on top of that, Canada's probably in a lot of trouble because Trump is going to be renegotiating the USMCA. The Trudeau government, I don't think, is prepared, has even prepared itself for a possible Trump presidency. I mean, I'm sure they've looked at it, but I don't think they're adequately prepared for this. So Canada's on the receiving end of a lot, going to be on the receiving end of a lot in very short order, I would say. And I don't think there's going to be much of a delay in anything that Trump does in the weeks and months ahead, because he's on a mission at this point. Absolutely going to be on a mission, especially after everything that's happened to him over the past, 4 years especially, since the last election, and even during his first administration. The way his opponents came after him, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on Canada. I'm just wondering. I don't know what it's really gonna look like. I don't know. But when I see General Flynn, and he's not the only one, I ran a clip of Steve Bannon yesterday. You know, he says they're not going to be nice. They're going to go after people. And Kamala Harris saying, you know, during her campaign that Trump would go into the White House with an enemies list. I think it's less Trump and more the people around him, which is exactly what Bannon said in his little speech there after the Trump victory. They're looking for revenge. I kind of get it. I mean, Bannon went to prison. You've got a lot of J6ers in prison, but now Trump is back in. He's back in the saddle again, right? So now everything has changed again, and he'll be able to pardon people. And I think you'll be seeing a lot of J6ers coming out of jail, and you're going to see a lot of immigration heading toward Canada. Is going to put pressure on us. You're going to see pressure on our economy. Trump is talking tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. Hopefully, he focuses those tariffs on China and other offshore countries that send their goods to us, and less so Canada. You know, like for a long time, auto industry executives, I can tell you, have always treated Canada and the U.S. as sort of one country, one geographic area under which they conduct business. Less so with Trump. He's taking on a very protectionist tone, and he doesn't get along with Justin Trudeau. I mean, really, in that regard, I think Canada would be much better off if Trudeau took a hike and we put at least some new people in there, and preferably, probably Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative government, which I think would be more cooperative and able to probably secure better deals with a Trump administration. So I don't know. And when I see General Flynn with his enemies list, is that Trump's enemies list? Not necessarily. That's what General Flynn would like to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what Trump would like to do, but Flynn is certainly within Trump's sphere of influence and could, I think, you know, in the view of some people, end up back in a Trump administration. And then when I listen to Trump speak about RFK Jr., even during his victory speech on election morning, he said, you know, Bobby, you got to leave the liquid gold alone. But other than that, have fun. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds to me like Trump is going to turn RFK Jr. loose on the pharmaceutical industry, on the agriculture industry, on the food processing industry, on big American corporations of various kinds, the chemical industry, and on and on and on and on and on, and just let him wreak havoc as a way of, and especially on government regulatory agencies like the FDA. And he says, have fun. Yeah, because Trump is pissed. So he's like, here. Yeah, thanks for joining my administration. This is my take on it, okay? It's like RFK Jr., have at it. Sue them, litigate, cause all kinds of problems. I don't think he even cares. At this point, my guess is he probably doesn't even care that much what the policies end up being. I think he just wants to make life miserable for a lot of government types and deep state people, whatever that means, because they've made his life so miserable. Well, I'm just saying, buckle up. It's going to be an interesting ride.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
The other thing is, I don't know how you do this. I'm very interested to know what the details of this deportation plan and what this enemies list is all about, because if General Flynn says, we know who they are, what does that mean? We know who they are. Who's they? Well, you're gonna throw all the members of the ACLU in prison, the American Civil Liberties Union? I don't know. And then what does deporting 18 million people look like? 18 million people? You round them all up and put them in a truck and deport them. Well, how do you know which ones are illegals and which ones are not? How do you are people entitled to any kind of due process? I'm curious. If you're talking about 18 million people and you take one individual, along comes some, I don't know, deportation cop. Let's say it's the deportation police of America, the DPA, okay? And the DPA officer comes along, or whatever agency they're going to create or use, and he says, hey, you over there, you're an illegal immigrant. Come with me. And like, no, I'm not. I'm not. Yeah, well, yes, you are. You have to, you're guilty until proven innocent. I don't know what it looks like, man. I don't know. And they just start nabbing people off the street and throwing them into trucks. But what about my kids? I've been here for 5 years, and I have a 2-year-old son and a 6-month-old baby. Oh, you're coming with me. Well, what about the kids? What do you do with the kids? The kids who were born in America, like, do they get deported too? And I guess with the stroke of a pen and an executive order, Trump can make anything happen. But oh my God, I don't know. This is so problematic. And then if people targeted under whatever program ends up being put into place, if any of them are entitled to any kind of due process, legal, if they have any kind of rights, this could end up in court systems. So this could clog up the courts. like forever. 18 million people. Imagine 18 million people, all of them claiming that they're not illegals or what, or they're going to challenge it in court. And how do you deal with that? I don't know, man. I just don't know. So I'm very curious to know what the plan is. How are you going to deal with this? Because it seems to me this is like trying to unscramble an egg. Yeah. I'm not saying it isn't a problem, but if you accuse somebody of being a member of a gang, and therefore you're going to deport them, do they get a day in court? A moment in front of a judge to plead their case, or do they just get thrown into the back of a wagon? And what do? You what country are you shipping them to? Mexico? Are they going to take them? Where do they go? I guess their original country of origin, wherever their citizenship is. Or you put them on a plane and fly them over to Nicaragua or Guatemala or Panama, Timbuktu. Like, I don't know. I keep hearing, like, we've been hearing deportation, biggest deportation ever, maybe 18 million people, and I have no idea what it means. And in the last 48 hours, I've been hearing a lot of, there's been a lot of saber rattling, honestly. A victory for Trump, and some of the people around him really talking about like revolution, and and this is like you won. So you can kind of do what you want, but it's like that's not enough. It just shows how incredibly divided the country is. And as much as Trump did get a landslide victory by winning so many states, especially swing states, the country, it's not a landslide insofar as each of these states, most of these states, the vast majority of these states, he won, but not by like huge margins. It's like Harris was in the 40s, the high 40s. Trump was always in like the low 50s or the mid 50s. Only like a spread of maybe 2 points, 3 points, 5 points, 10 points. That's not landslide. Not really. Like when you look at the electoral college votes, yeah, he's nailed it. And strategically, they did a very good job with the campaign. But just in terms of looking at the population, the country is so divided. This is my point. Not taking anything away from the victory. I'm just saying that the United States, and Canada too, Western society, Western countries, but especially the United States, so incredibly divided. It has to be the most divided the country has been since the Civil War. And we're actually still even hearing people talk about it in those terms. And that's truth. I'm not trying to inflame anything. It's an observation. And it's worrisome because I don't think people fully grasp the gravity of all that and where that might go. Very, very concerning. Gonna come back to that later in the program. Yeah, I'm going to make a note because somebody sent me something that was actually special to me and insightful. So a young person overnight, and touched me. Might touch you too. I hope it does. But I'll share it with you before we sign off tonight. Pretty unique thing. And just to show how incredibly divided the country is, which is just my point here, and I think it's dangerous. Here's a University of Oregon assistant director of fraternity and sorority, Leonard Serrato. He's been placed on leave after posting on Instagram a video in which he tells Trump supporters to go jump off a bridge. Oh my God. Okay. Larry, I'll show it to you. It's not good. This is This is where America is at. I don't know where the country's going to end up. As much as Trump won, I don't know that the country has yet. Hopefully things can stabilize. And it's a good thing Biden stood up and told people, especially on his side, the Democrat side, to accept the outcome of the election. I'm relieved to hear that.
I'm done crying. My sadness is over. My anger has set in. I am a very petty person, and I am very proud of that. Love it about myself, actually. And so I say this in the most disrespectful way possible. I don't care if you are my family. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if we've been friends our entire lives. You can literally go fuck yourself if you voted for Donald Trump. If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job. Do better in life. Get a fucking education. Do something. Because you are fucking stupid. And I hope you go jump off of a fucking bridge.
Yeah, so that just makes my point. Like, don't do that, because that guy is losing his job. He's in trouble, a lot of trouble. That cost him, and for what? A temper tantrum that he can't do anything about because the election is over. The people have decided. Accept it. Move on. If you want to start focus, if you want to do something constructive, I don't know, that you think is constructive, focus on the next election. And I don't know, go volunteer for, I don't know, a charity, or pick an NGO that does good work and volunteer for them. A non-governmental organization that does work for the homeless or something, and put your energy into that. In fact, you know, somebody else called me 3 days ago and said, you know, Rick, I don't know if I should say this out of school, but she said, I'm volunteering. And, well, that's fantastic. Good for you. Maybe we'll call her later in the program and listen to what that is all about too. That's what you need to be doing to make your country better. It was John F. Kennedy who said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That's what you can do. Or you can throw a temper tantrum, get yourself into trouble, and just get people pissed off with you, like this guy. Like, even when you win, sometimes people, it's still not enough. Like this fella here. I think he's a Trump supporter, and he's still out there raging. Welcome to America in 2024.
Trading loser fucking piece of shit. Yeah, video told me all day long. What else? Trump will win, and we're gonna bring it back, motherfuckers. Yeah. Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you. You it? Fucking no-brain pussy. Fuck you. Is that it?
Yeah, that was, I think, the day before the election. Prophecy fulfilled. Oh. And you know, that's the thing too. It's like, as much as I've not been a fan of Democrats, I'm also not a fan of where the country is at right now, because it's like somehow people have been given license to be dicks. Yeah, it's like it's okay to be a dick now, and swear at people and just be a first-class jerk. And yell at people and scream, and it's not cool. I don't like it. I don't like it. It doesn't lead to anything good. And then some people looking at Trump right now, here's Republicans against Trump. I mean, it just shows again how divided things are. The never-Trumpers are still out there, and they're crying. And, you have to keep in mind, these are not like Democrats. These are Republicans. Some might call them rhinos, I guess. Republican in name only, but no, a lot of these people have been lifelong Republicans until Donald Trump came along. Anyway, this is posted on Republicans Against Trump, and, they're saying that here, I'll show you the post, actually. Trump has failed to end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours of being elected. First promise broken. Well, did he really mean in 24 hours? Or I've heard him also say that before he actually takes office. But yeah, I think he did say at one point he would end it within 24 hours of being president-elect. I don't know. I do know that Putin still hasn't congratulated him and is refusing to do so. You can read a lot of different things into that. There's a lot of psychology at play there, talking about the art of the deal. Mentioned it last night on the program. Putin not acknowledging Trump at all. No, but he is saying he's ready and willing to sit down to negotiate the situation in Ukraine. But there's still a fair amount of time and a bit of ground to cover between now and January 20th, when power transitions from the Biden administration to the Trump administration, the new Trump administration. And tonight, we are seeing that Trump has made his first appointment to his administration. Let me show you who it is. It's a woman, and she has been directly involved in his campaign. I had it queued up here. Oh my goodness. Did I lose it? No, here it is. Donald Trump is appointed his chief of staff. Yeah, I just have way too many things here. My apologies, folks. That whole thing earlier just really left me kind of discombobulated when I took that call, and I was like, what? Just, and there's so many things going on here that was kind of not a complaining about it. It's just I lost my track of everything, and I'm still a little bit disoriented. Let me take a break. I'll get it set up, and then I'll come back on the other side.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, yeah, so here we go. I'll just bring this up, actually. Susie Willes, he had her up on the stage with him during his victory speech. Susie Willes, chief of staff, first major appointment. And actually, Putin has now commended the Trump victory. And here's a post about this. So this is the first appointment. There she is. I believe that is actually the photo that you're looking at there. That is her on election night, yes, during his speech in West Palm Beach. And she has been around, man, and she's connected politically. I understand that Wiles, was actually involved in the Reagan administration. And yeah, she's dialed right into the whole Republican Party, and she's sort of a kingmaker. She's helped some pretty prominent, high-profile Republican politicians go from obscurity to power, and was instrumental in putting Trump on track to win the presidency this time, really doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and he acknowledged that too during the victory speech. I think the victory speech where he puts her out front like that, and she didn't really want to speak. She didn't want to speak, but he indicated she's been working hard in the background. So I think she's a very capable, powerful woman, and maybe he's wising up and putting higher quality people around him than maybe people realize. Not sure. Time will tell. But there's a power broker right there, and his first real appointment to his new administration. And then a lot of focus. I mean, I talked about General Flynn, who, as you know, was accused of being influenced heavily by Russia. And of course, in 2015, he did go to Russia and was paid, I believe, somewhere around $45,000 to speak at an event where he sat right next to Vladimir Putin, and then ended up in the Trump administration as the national security advisor. And when asked about it and was accused of taking Russian money, he denied it. He said he didn't take any money from Russia. But then in a subsequent interview, and I could find this, I don't have it queued up, but I remember he inadvertently almost explained how the money came into his possession. See, what he said happened was that the money that he was paid, 45 grand in that vicinity, $45,000 to give one speech in Russia. The money was paid to the company that books him to speaking engagements. And then the company that takes the booking paid him. So he didn't take the money from Russia. He took the money from the company that books the speakers. That he's like an agent. So Russia pays the agent pays Flynn. He says he didn't take any money from Russia. There's no direct link there, but the money obviously came from Russia. Anyway, just saying. And it'll be interesting to see if he's back in a Trump administration now. Yeah. I think most people are not aware that General Flynn took that cash. I wasn't really aware until, fairly recently. I didn't even know. I wasn't paying close enough attention. But it's true. It's true. You want truth? You want me to lie? I'm going to tell you the truth. Simple as that. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, a liberal, a conservative, a new Democrat, a communist, a libertarian. I don't care. I'll tell you the truth. And reporter, I hope I pronounce his name correctly. I always get it wrong. David Pugliese of the Ottawa Citizen. He says he tells the truth too, even though he's been accused of being a Russian mouthpiece. He appeared today in front of Canada's House of Commons Security Committee, And he said he found it astonishing that none of the members of parliament on the committee challenged the allegations that were made against him last month. And he said that he really had never planned to appear before the committee, but felt compelled to do so because of the accusations leveled against him. The allegations against the journalist came from Chris Alexander, a former conservative cabinet minister and ambassador to Afghanistan. There was a meeting back on October 24th, and Chris Alexander made those allegations then. He presented the committee with what he said were KGB documents dated 1984 through 1990, which apparently say that the KGB at that time saw Pugliese as a potential asset. Anyway, these are allegations that the journalist has vehemently denied, and then today appeared before the committee. And I have his address to the committee all set up here for you. And I'm freezing up here, having a little bit of trouble. Again, getting some stuff queued up. Yeah, my computer's freezing. Hang on just a second. Okay, there we go. Let me pull a couple of these tabs down so I can pull up the right one. Again, that kind of messed things up just a little bit. I hope I didn't lose it. There it is. Move it over there. Okay, this is very interesting stuff. This was the way it went down in the committee. Pugliese.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, thank you, Madam Chair, for granting me the opportunity to speak to you. I had no intention of appearing before this committee, but when my reputation and profession was attacked, I felt compelled to offer some truth and balance to your discussion. On October 24th, 2024, former Conservative Cabinet Minister Chris Alexander came before this committee and accused me of being a traitor to my country. Hiding behind a cloak of parliamentary privilege, he falsely claimed that I had been recruited as a Russian spy in the 1980s and suggested I am still working as a Russian agent. His preposterous claims were based on several pieces of paper he told you had been examined by experts around the world. Astonishingly, not one MP on the committee raised a single critical question about these explosive allegations involving a veteran Canadian journalist with a 40-year track record. It is the height of irony that a committee studying disinformation would in fact propagate it. The records presented to you by Mr. Alexander are replete with factual errors and falsehoods. The records claim I was a permanent resident of Ottawa when the Russians supposedly decided to examine my background. I was not even living in Ottawa at the time cited in the records tabled by Mr. Alexander. Alexander testified the files show I was working at my first job at the Ottawa Citizen throughout the 1980s. That is also false. Although Mr. Alexander claimed there are actual studies authenticating his assertions, nothing was provided to this committee, and no one asked for them. Mr. Alexander's fabricated claims are not only outlandish, but are dangerous to my family. There are now calls that I be executed or tortured, and that my family be deported. In short, this committee effectively played host to character assassination without authenticating any of the allegations. In my line of work, no credible journalist in this country would ever publish such wild, damaging allegations based on flimsy assertions. If Mr. Alexander's document is real, or documents are real, it, at best, suggests the Russians looked at my background, which was a common occurrence for journalists, academics, and politicians during the Cold War. How many other Canadians are on this list? Mr. Alexander, in his presentation to the committee, suggests my journalism helps the Russians and divides Canadians, and yet nothing is further from the truth. Over the last 4 decades, I have exposed financial wrongdoing at National Defense, sexual assault in the Canadian Forces, and bungled military procurements which put our troops at risk. My award-winning articles have helped countless Canadian veterans and military personnel, and I've pushed for accountability, transparency, and truthfulness. But I know that when journalists like myself expose wrongdoing of governments and institutions, it can be uncomfortable for decision makers. As we learned in the aftermath of this committee, the claim that I was a Russian asset has been circulated for several years by Canadian Forces leaders. That doesn't come as a surprise to me. Military public affairs officers have acknowledged that during my time at the Ottawa Citizen, there have been no less than 3 attempts by senior D&D officials to convince my employer to remove me from the defense beat. In 2013, the National Post reported that I was put under military police investigation after a senior official in the defense minister's office falsely claimed I published classified information. After a 2-month investigation, military police concluded that the data I published was actually taken from a U.S. Navy press release. Once again, there are ridiculous claims being made by those who are uncomfortable with fact-based journalism, and my journalism in particular. The job of a journalist is to hold the powerful to account, and I will continue doing so. In my view, Canada appears to be entering a dangerous new era. Labeling people who don't follow the approved government narrative as an enemy to this country is slanderous and irresponsible. Surely, a parliamentary committee should embrace higher standards when it comes to protecting the reputation of its citizens. While these allegations were made about me personally, there is little doubt that this was an attack on credible journalism at a time when we need it most. Journalism is a core pillar of our democracy, protecting public interest. I am a proud Canadian, I'm proud of my journalism career, and I intend to keep holding governments to account. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your remark.
Okay.
To make an opening statement of up to 5 minutes, please.
All right.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
We'll just leave it there. Yeah, you know, even this whole name the names thing, I was very uncomfortable with it. I still am, because everybody should be entitled to due process. And if you're throwing names around and making accusations, you better be able to back that up with facts and evidence, lest you be sued and find yourself in a whole heap of trouble. So this journalist, Mr. Buglies, maybe he has grounds for a lawsuit. I don't know. Now, not when parliamentary privilege is invoked, because you can sit in Parliament and make all kinds of accusations and hide behind parliamentary privilege when you're in the House, and you can't be prosecuted for that or sued, because you have like ultimate free speech when you're a member of Parliament and you're sitting in the House. You can just say all kinds of wild things. You could lie about stuff and not get yourself into trouble. But you step outside the House, or if you're a private citizen, like Sam Cooper the other day with his news conference, maybe what he's saying is true. But when I listened to what he had to say in his news conference, he was basing his accusations on unnamed sources. And then a lot of people have come out since then and they've said, well, see, there's proof of foreign interference. Name the names. And some names were thrown around. And some people said to me, you have to name the names too, Rick. You need to get on there and, like tell everybody who the names are. No, he can do that. And I don't want to participate in pointing my finger at Mr. Pugliese because I don't have any proof. And anything I've seen so far, I mean, it is factual to say that this government agency or the Department of National Defense or even an American investigative body has named him. You could do that. Even that, though, is defamatory. At a certain point, though, if you make accusations and you can't prove them, you're leaving yourself wide open to a lawsuit. I smell something wrong here. You know, the one member of parliament who was named during that news conference the other day sits right beside Trudeau in the House of Commons, and the very next day she's back in there, and that was, you know, enraging some people. But Trudeau knows everything. He has access to all the confidential documents. And then even after that news conference, he's back in the House, that member of parliament sitting right beside him, and he appears to be very confident and comfortable in that situation. What's that telling me? It's saying to me, he's not worried about that. There's something else going on, and the people making these accusations maybe don't have the full story, and they've left themselves wide open to attack, maybe destruction. Yeah. And then people are like, well, Trudeau, he's got to go, right? Yeah, okay, I get that. But then people are wondering, like, people are like, he's going to lose the election so bad. And I keep saying, yeah, right now, looks like that could be the case. If the election were to be held today, yeah, he would lose to a Conservative landslide. But there's a lot that can happen between now and actual election day, which could happen like a year from now. And I keep saying, you mark my words, he has something up his sleeve. There's something that he has planned. He's not going to go quietly into the night. This might be the thing up his sleeve, this whole foreign interference thing. And Poilievre hasn't taken the security clearance. He doesn't know what Justin Trudeau knows. If you're following what I'm laying out for you, I'm saying that maybe there's some conservative connections in all of this that maybe even Poilievre isn't aware of, or I don't know. That's the point. I don't know. And even the member of parliament who sits beside Trudeau, who was named in that news conference, it even came out in the news conference, or at least after the news conference anyway, that member of parliament has been described as being an unwitting participant in the foreign interference. But then I've heard other people come out and make accusations that suggest they're accusing that MP of being a traitor. But there's no proof there. And in fact, actually the statement in the news conference suggests otherwise. If you're an unwitting participant, you haven't done necessarily anything illegal. Probably haven't done anything illegal. And it means also that you're not really a traitor to your country at all. But when you're accused of that, do you see, that's defamatory. I smell lawsuits. People should be freaking careful. They really should be careful. And it's not fair to target a journalist. You might not agree with what that journalist is saying or what that journalist is writing, and maybe it makes the Department of National Defense very uncomfortable because he's maybe critical of foreign policy or the whatever activities the DND is involved with. Maybe they don't like it. But it's a country with free speech, and a journalist, he sounds to me like he's doing his job. And he sat there in front of that committee and also appears to be very confident in what he is saying he's not a Russian asset. He's not taking Russian money. And you better be prepared to prove that. And if you can't, then you better bite your tongue and hold your pen, because it's not right. It's not fair. And you better be careful what you say, because you could end up being sued. And it could swing political opinion wildly as well. If things, when the truth is revealed and the real information eventually comes out, it might not be what people think it is at all. You don't know what you don't know. And you better not start accusing people of things until you know. It's like a lawyer in court. Never ask a question you don't already know the answer to.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
I see in the chat some people are like, I think that people are upset by what I'm saying, because I think you think it's like, well, if he's not on, because you just want me to sit here and cheerlead and name the names, just name names. No, you better freaking get it right, because if you get it wrong, you're going to undermine the entire process. You're going to undermine the path to actual justice. You're going to end up getting in trouble. And I think you need to think a couple of steps ahead. Trudeau knows everything. So he's in a position of advantage in that regard. And I'm saying that you better be careful, because if you're getting it wrong, he's just reeling you in. It's a trap. You better be sure. Otherwise, it's going to backfire on you. I'm just saying, that one thing alone, that could, if you're not getting it right, that could flip everything upside down again. In a pretty, maybe not entirely, but even that, yeah, it could. Foreign interference? Maybe it's not the liberals. Okay? I don't know. And again, I don't know what I don't know. Just better get it right. Or you're going to, I'm saying that could put Trudeau back into office. See? If you don't get it right. Oh, and a lot of people very critical of Trudeau, jumping on the bandwagon, making all these wild accusations. Maybe they're not wild, but accusations nonetheless. And if they're wrong, a lot of people could be in a lot of trouble. And it just could undermine it could derail the whole anti-Trudeau train, is what I'm saying. So just saying, be smart. Be smart, not reckless. Ah, boy. Always be smart. This is the crypto king, eh? This guy here. What's his name? Dean Skirka? Yeah. Kidnapped. Yeah, let me show you a picture of him. Here it is right here. So this guy, like, nabbed off a street, I believe. There he is. And that's the man. So this is a cryptocurrency thing. Pretty wealthy. He's the CEO of a cryptocurrency company. Here we go here. Okay. Yeah, I need to get my notes up. So he's been held for $1 million ransom. He's the head of this company. It specializes in cryptocurrency, and he was picked up in downtown Toronto during rush hour, and police are saying that they were called about this kidnapping. It happened in the area of University Avenue and Richmond Street West, just before 6 p.m. on Wednesday. This information coming directly from Toronto police. And the suspects forced him, Skirka, into a vehicle and made a demand for money. So the man was later located in Centennial Park in Etobicoke uninjured, but they picked him up and they were like, I want $1 million. And he did make a statement to a public statement saying that at some point today, saying he'd been involved in this incident, but is safe. And the name of his company is Wonderfy. So, this isn't there have been a number of incidents involving people, who are heavily into cryptocurrency. And, and in some cases, kidnappings, violence. Interesting times, to be sure. Strange times. So, what else do we have for you tonight? We're kind of, we're going to move on to this monkey story. Strange times. This is a strange story. So, I guess 40 rhesus monkeys escaped from a bio-research lab. And they're on a rampage. And, some guy, I know there was somebody who was like, some people have been like charged like with these monkeys kind of going wild. So here's a local news affiliate. I've got a report from them that I want to share with you here. 43 monkeys in total, I believe. And this was in South Carolina, in the Yemassee area of South Carolina. Happened Wednesday evening. Police departments say that the monkeys escaped from the Alpha Genesis Primate Biolab Research Center. They have traps set up in the area, trying to round these primates up. They're using thermal imaging cameras to help locate the animals. And the authorities there are telling people, the residents, to keep their doors and windows closed and not to approach these monkeys because they could be dangerous. If you do spot one, people are being told to call 911. Okay. Yeah. So you have 43 biolab monkeys free at last. Here's the report from the local ABC affiliate, WJCL.
For 40 monkeys that escaped from the Alpha Genesis facility in Yemassee. WJCL 22 News' Kyron Naveau live in the Low Country, keeping his head on a swivel with those primates on the run. And of course, this is a public safety alert. Kai, what is the latest on these missing monkeys?
Well, Frank, good morning. So yeah, like you mentioned, 40 monkeys escaped from the Alpha Genesis facility. It happened around 9:45 last night, and police are asking anyone to just, if they see them, to stay away, and that's why we're here at the municipal complex here in Yemassee. But here's what police are doing right now to find those monkeys. Like I mentioned, 40 monkeys escaped 9:45 last night, and currently police have placed traps all around the area to capture those monkeys. Now, so far, I have no idea what those traps actually look like, and we're trying to get more information about that. But police are also utilizing on-site thermal imaging cameras in an attempt to locate these monkeys. Now, the monkeys are used at the facility for biomedical research. And this isn't the first time those monkeys actually escaped from the Alpha Genesis facility. Back in 2016, 19 monkeys made a break from the compound, but they were all captured about 6 hours later. Now, residents are being asked to lock their doors, lock their windows, and if they see these monkeys, to just stay away and call police. Now, we're trying to make some contact with the local police here to get any update on if they captured any, but so far we have not heard back. Live in Yemassee, I'm Kyron Naveau. Back to you, Frank.
All right, Kai, again, good update, good news. If you see a monkey, if one comes to your door, don't answer it. Call 911. All right, Kai, thanks so much.
Jeez. Yeah, so, steer clear of the monkeys. What can I say? All right. Let's take a short break. I've got something special to share with you before we wrap up for the evening. So don't go away. I will be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Okay. Talking about a country divided. Share a personal thing with you. Before Trump was elected, there was a young person that used to do some work with me here and became pretty special to me. Very special, actually. And boy, I thought those were the days. Sometimes we'd end up over at McDonald's here and we'd talk politics. But these were in the before times when things weren't quite so weird. But Trump was, emerging, and it looked like, and those are the days. This was the Rush Limbaugh Trump. And of course, I was very much, the conservative, and so this young person and we would sit and we would converse and talk about politics. Very bright she was, and is. And I really miss those conversations because she has since moved to the United States. She's living in California now, and she's living there with her partner, and occasionally she still messages me. And when Trump won, she sent me a message. And I'm not going to tell you her name because she doesn't know I'm sharing any of this tonight. So it'll remain anonymous for now anyway, unless she gives me permission. But the night of the election, she says, "Trump victory. I hope all is well with you, Rick. I miss you." And I said, I responded, and I said, this time around things, they do feel different than they did certainly when we would sit at McDonald's and talk politics back in those days. And I kind of felt, at that time I was kind of like a bit of a mentor, sort of. But it's politics, so it's, some of it's opinion. I said, but I think things are different this time around. Just it's a different feel. And then she messaged back. She said, yes, things, I'm going to read you what she wrote back because it really resonated with me. And I hope it says something to you too. She's Canadian, of course, and now living in California. And she says things aren't the same. It's going to be an uphill battle. Dems are already in the streets protesting. We are on the brink of a war, potentially civil war. The divide in the U.S. is palpable. And she wrote a poem that she sent to me. So I'm going to share it with you. Now, she was a teenager then. Now she's she's a young woman and living her life down there. I think she's running a business with her partner, and I'm proud of her. Anyway, says, I am a foreigner in an anesthetized society. Litany turned perfunctory. Idle talk regarded as gospel. Ostentatious presentations masking desolation. Evocation, a dead tongue. Skin is starting to tear. But qualms are sanitized. Trepidation lies inert. Yet like a dormant seed, will inevitably awaken. And then she says, with great insight, I might add, she says, as happy as I am that Trump won, I don't see him as the panacea, just a Band-Aid on a deep wound. Yeah. And so the student becomes the teacher. Love you guys. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.